And our goal is to be in the repeat and referral business, because that's what we are. And what drives repeat and referral business? Maintenance and tires. And what does that do to all the metrics from a 20 group with old people and walkers? Drives them all down. My goal is to sell the capacity first. That is all we care about, is selling capacity.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? This is Jason Harris, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Golden Wrench Podcast, where I get to talk to anybody and everybody I want to when it has to do with the fixed ops business. And you know, the behind-the-scenes business is what holds a big spot in my heart, and I am so excited to get the opportunity and jam about anything and everything to do with fixed ops. Of course, I wouldn't be able to do this without our amazing sponsor, and actually, here's a quick message from that sponsor.
For years, I've been saying that you have to process your way to profitability, and no one knows that better than the folks at Repair 360. You all know how important it is to have a fast, streamlined used car reconditioning process. Remember, time kills profit. Getting a used car frontline ready in less time while providing transparent communication between departments is what Repair 360 is all about. With Repair 360's automated used car recon manager, you will drive recon times down while giving sales the visibility they need to stop complaining. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that part. Anyways, you have to check out their website at repair360.com and see how they can revolutionize your reconditioning process.
All right. Hey, guys, I am so excited about my guest today. We got a chance to talk a little bit before we started recording. I know this is going to be a really fun conversation. All right. It's the one, the only, the oh so famous Tully Williams. Tully, what's going on? How you doing, man?
Thank you so much for this great opportunity. It's great that we link up. And boy, I love talking about fixed ops.
Right? It never gets boring. Like, you know, it's just, there's always something new. There's always a challenge. You know, I always kind of break it into three categories. It's people, it's processes, and it's technology. And those three things are always evolving. So it just creates this amazing place that's just always challenging and fun. So Tully, I'm excited, man, to get into the conversation with you. I know we got some great topics, but hey, before we get into those topics, Tully, I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story, because I'm fascinated. So Tully, tell us and everybody who's listening, all right, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Well, that's a great question. It started in high school. I needed a job, and I started. I went to high school my final 2 years in Lake Tahoe, California. And I went to work at Kingsbury Automotive as a technician or a helper or whatever you call it. It was a little independent garage there. And I worked there for 2 years through my high school. And then after I graduated, I got into a program. I don't know if they have it around anymore, but General Motors called it the ASAP program, where a General Motors dealership, and you got an AA degree through a community college, and get yourself into the dealership. And I worked for a Pontiac GMC DeLorean dealership in Fremont, California. They're not there any longer. Yes. DeLorean, yes, thank God that was going away when I got in, because it was not a fun automobile. But you know what? In the 80s, you learned a lot about cars because, they were built very, very high quality back then. So then after, I worked in the car dealership probably for 5-6 years. And then I opened up my own independent garage called the Auto Clinic with a partner of mine. Mm-hmm. And we ran that for at least 15 years probably. And we had a AAA contract station. We had 20 tow trucks, and we had 6 technicians. We enjoyed that a lot. And then I sold that and then got back into the dealership business. And then I landed a great job with my good friend. And the person that gave me a really big start was John Anderson of Courtesy Chevrolet. Now, we had a humongous Chevy store in San Jose. It was awesome. We were like the number 4th or 5th Corvette dealer in the United States, 47 bays. It was a beautiful shop. I ran that for many, many years, and he sold it. And then I went over to my other good friend, the Del Grands, DG, but Sean Del Grand, the guy that ran it there. And I worked there for 14 years or 12 years, I think. And then I had an opportunity to come up here to work for the Nilo Company in Sacramento, California. as their fixed ops. And here's the nice thing about the Nilo company. Been in business for 102 years, started in the fixed ops department. Can you believe it?
Of course. I mean, it makes sense. It's the backbone of the business, and it's funny. I was actually talking I know we're going to get into a handful of things today, but I'm finding newer management having more fixed ops background than I've seen in the past couple of decades. And that makes me really, really happy. I get excited about that kind of stuff. But Tully, I am
you question that right there. And think about this is that we had the opportunity to promote a service manager to a general manager 3 months ago. Huge deal for us because, every GSM is always shoot in because, we're a car selling company, which is, I have to argue that and to remind everybody where we were founded. But we are very excited for our Volkswagen GM because he has fixed ops experience. But you know what? He sees things so differently than a typical GM does. And it's exciting to see the changes that he's making in the quality there. Because, Volkswagen is a tough brand to run.
Well, you see complete ownership. I had that same background. I had this amazing mentor of mine who was a very interesting character, needless to say. But I remember the first 2 weeks I was on the job, they said, well, what do you think? I said, it's great. He's like, so, you enjoying sales? I said, I am, but I actually want to know how I can, own this dealership. I mean, maybe not specifically this one, maybe another one. I'm like 2 weeks on the job. I'm asking the guy, like, how can I own this? And he thought it was funny. And he said, look, I'll make you a deal. All right. You finish in the top 3, all right, for the next 3 months, and I will mentor you on eventually owning your dealership. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. Now, I did some pretty crazy stuff. I started off in the sales and gave up an incredibly lucrative, all right, sales job to actually go become a service advisor because it was a part of the path that he had mapped out to me to what I needed to do to eventually own my own dealership. So it makes me happy when I hear that more leadership is coming up into that position with more of an understanding of around the fixed ops, because ultimately we're the heartbeat of the business, right?
We're the one that drives repeat referral businesses. I like to say the sales sells one car and we sell the rest of the cars to guarantee that the dealership stays open forever.
Well, and right now, I mean, we're talking about timely things, right? I mean, look at I have a friend that I just recently was talking to. We were looking at we were just doing a quick audit on his P&L. Like the cost of interest in floor plans right now on the variable side is insane. I mean, you have to be so focused on the fixed ops side just to be able to absorb some of these monstrous expenses that the variable side of the business is having to go through right now. And I know we're going to go through a few of these topics. I want to kick off, with kind of this first topic of yours, which I'm loving because there's so many different angles we can take this from, right? But, I kind of feel like it's this Jerry Maguire kind of message. It's all about the hours.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So tell me, give me your philosophy on this.
Well, it's funny is that, my good friend Randy Brinkman is the one that got me started on this because, I grew up through the automotive and you grow up and you get the whole hours per row, con the customer. It's not the case, right? And when Randy it was probably a good 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago, told me about this hours program. We were taking a class through the Del Grand Dealer Group and holy mackerel, did it really ring in? Because if we basis what we do in the car dealership, in the fixed ops department, is we sell the technician's time. And if we think about that, because a lot of times we think about is gross, sell. That's not what we need to do. What we need to do is we need to sell things that we would sell our family members. That's first off. And secondly is that we want to sell the technician's time that we have available. It's a huge concept. Most people don't understand how it works. They kind of think it does, but here's the deal. All of my dealerships, all of my managers, any bonus in the entire dealership is tied to an hours forecast. And what does that mean? Everybody is on the same page to drive growth and to drive everything we need to drive, because we're not off of, well, who's paying for freight, or the part's going to come this, or I don't want to sell this, or I don't want to sell that. The issue is all I care about is, do we sell the hours that the technician recommends, right? Because that's all we do. Parts comes along for the ride, And remember, we can't sell hours without parts because we're not in the diagnosis business. We're in the repair business and maintenance business. And when you look at it, back then, hours per RO and ELR.
Yes.
Big things. So here's the deal. If you believe in that, here's what you need to do. Close on Saturdays. Tell all the maintenance to go away. It's just not repair. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all, right? And our goal is to be in the repeat and referral business because that's what we are. And what drives repeat and referral business? Maintenance and tires. And what does that do to all the metrics from a 20 group with old people and walkers? Drives them all down. My goal is to sell the capacity first. That is all we care about, is selling capacity.
Well, and look, I mean, I love this. And to your point, it is a mindset change, right? And I love mindset change like this. I'll share a little story with you. I had one on the variable side that was kind of similar to this, but you know what it does is it makes you focus on what you can achieve, not what you did achieve, right? You know, I find too often, you know, at the end of the month, we're going through the P&Ls, we're going through, you know, the ROs, we're going through the gross, we're going through, you know, effective labor rate, which I find that's not as much of a conversation it used to be. And I think it should be. Anyways, I digress. We're looking at the absorption rate. We're looking at all this stuff, and we're talking about what we did, not what we could have done. Correct. And this mindset, Tully, that you're talking about makes you focus. It's a focus. And by the way, I think it's actually a very customer-centric focus too. So I'm really digging this. Right? Because, you know, this is something I would sell, you know, that's right. This is something I would sell my friends, right? It's like, okay, well, you know, there's a problem. It's going to take so many hours to fix it. It's no different than the contractor that comes over and it's repairing my roof, right? I asked him, I said, well, how many hours do you think it's going to take? Well, you know, I'll bring a crew of 3 people over. 3 days times 8 hours a day. This is about how I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. That's how many hours it's going to take to fix it. So that's a very customer-centric approach to it. My question for you is, how do you get everybody kind of on board with that type of mindset? Because it's here's what I'm going to. It doesn't necessarily correlate to most people's pay structures. So
great segue into pay, because that's what it's all about. It's all about pay. So when I came here, right, to the Nilo company, is that they were the old-fashioned gross. Don't tell you how your pay plan works, and here's your paycheck, check, right? That just doesn't work very well, right? So here's the go. Here's how you base this, and this is how you get everybody on board. One is that you have to show them. So as you see it behind me, I have 2 TV sets. I have 64 television sets that run across the Nilo company in sales and in service to show off everybody's successes, rank everybody. We also have a website that I manage that all the information is on there. But here's how it starts this. First, you need to know your hours capacity. My hours capacity for technicians is 9 hours a day. Why not 8? Because a technician doesn't want to work for 8 hours. My recommendation is start with 10, right? But let's say you have 9 hours. That's 100% of your hours. Now, we break that out. I know the exact number of days a technician's working. I tie that to payroll, so I know for exactly how many it is at the end of the month. And that gives me a total amount of hours. Then we have to break it up. We have to break it up to our service advisors can sell those hours, right? And then we break it up to how many days do our service advisors work? And you divide that in to the total of hours. And guess what you have? The number of hours they must sell every day of their life. Now, one thing I do believe in is we should have ratios to technicians, to advisors. And why? Because we have to make sure the advisor can sell the capacity. Right? My belief is 3 to 1. That's 27 hours every day. Tully, that's not a big deal. I said every day, including Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Right? So the issue is that we have to have the ability. As our efficiencies go up, in our forecast where our average store is about 130%, 130 times 9 is, it's a big number per day our technicians drive every day they show up. As I like to say, rich and tired is what we want our technicians to be. So now when I show technicians how they can make more money for them and their families, next is I show the advisor the success. Not selling an engine job for $4 million and giving half of it away. I'm talking about selling tires. I'm talking about selling things that are inexpensive. Why? Because hours is our focus that we talk about every day. Now, here's the best part of this whole thing is that the service advisors are paid on the hours forecast. So if your hours forecast is 130, you'll get a blank percent of gross. So guess what we also do? Our parts and service managers, yes, parts and service managers are on the exact same pay plan as a service advisor, except it's the whole store. Our back counter people are paid a bonus based off of our hours forecast. Our team leads and foremen are paid off of the hours forecast. There is no bonus in the fixed ops that's not tied to an hours forecast. So what does that mean? Parts and service get along great.
Of course.
Our back counter people are getting along great. We want to focus on the one thing that drives it. So now there is no argument about gross, because I don't even talk about money. I hate money.
Yes.
I talk about the hours. That's what it's all about.
You know what? I really like that. And, and it makes a lot of sense. I did kind of a similar strategy because on the variable side, I bonused my management team, not on the money they made, but the amount of money they gave away. Right. So, and there was no DMS. There wasn't a report for this, right? There was no report that actually come out and say, look, if you sold everything the way you were supposed to sell, this is how much you should have made. Right. So nothing ever like you actually at one point I had to manually keep track of how much we were discounting on each car, and because then there was a delta. There was a delta between what we made and what we could have made. And this mindset is the exact same thing. This is focusing on like, hey, this is the capacity. All right. This is the goal. All right. Everybody gets behind that goal. We build a pay plan that supports that goal objective. Now everybody is moving in the exact same direction, and now I do want to talk about, because I think there's a huge customer centric approach to this, because I can see why, we wouldn't, since I'm not necessarily focusing on gross, I'm not necessarily focusing maybe on services that have higher gross, so walk me through that one. How did this help from a customer experience perspective?
So first thing is that it starts with you're selling your hours forecast, right? So everybody talks about hours. So I sold a great job today. I sold 22 hours, or I sold 5 hours, or I sold my capacity, right? The next thing is this is what we also monitor: same day selling. I would phrase it to same visit selling. So how does that work? Is that our technicians make great recommendations we'd sell our family members. I'll say it one more time. Our technicians make great recommendations we'd sell our family members. And we monitor the hell out of that number, right? Because we do not want to sell over or undersell anybody. So now, with those great recommendations, are we selling those great recommendations? And that could be a tire that makes you no money, or an engine or whatever that makes you a bunch of money. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
So the next thing is that we monitor same day selling for all of our technicians and all of our service advisors, especially service advisors. And part of that is that if we follow the process where we do 100% tech inspections, by the way, I pay the technician a half an hour. Yes, I do pay a half an hour for an inspection and a quality video. The next is that then we do that, we make those great recommendations, and then we send those quotes out to the customer 100%. Now, I'm not saying 50%. I'm saying if we're not 98%, I go completely ape crazy. Just want you to know. And sooner or later, they'll pop up on the screen. It tells you where we are today. I think we're 98 or 99%. Then, by that time, is what we've done. We've gained trust in the customer, knowing that we're selling great recommendations, which is our service advisor sales. We're not selling anything we cannot sell. We'd sell to our family member. Now, we get to monitor our selling percentage. ASRs, I guess, is a technical term, but I like same-day selling. We sell 50% of most everything we ask for.
That's awesome.
And here's the deal. I don't care what it is, because then we track the number of recommendation hours for our technicians. So now a technician says, well, I make all these recommendations. It says, yeah, but do you realize that 30% or 40% of your hours every month come from great recommendations and videos that you perform? And what's the best car to work on? The car on the rack, not the car in the parking lot. So goal is to focus on those great recommendations, monitor those. 4 great recommendations that we need to keep a focus on. Those are the ones that drive repeat referral. Tires. We sell about 40 to 50%. I still think we suck. Maintenance. batteries, and brakes. Those are the key things that we need to watch and ask the whys that we're not selling. If we're too expensive, lower the price.
No, look, I'm so with you on this. And by the way, I love finding rabbit holes, so I do want to go down the rabbit hole. If you're paying you're paying your techs to do a quality inspection, and I just really wanted to make sure I highlighted that for everybody out there watching and listening. Did you hear what Tully just said?
Half an hour.
Look, Tully, I'm with you. I am so with you on this, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are probably shaking their heads either up and down or back to back.
20 groups hate my guts. I love to be a disruptor in a 20 group.
Right? But here's the thing is now you have control, and you're able to really not only put a monetized amount, but also put a very monetized expectation to what you expect a quality inspection is going to be. In fact, I was just at a dealership recently where I had a horrible experience with a very bad recommendation. I went in for an oil change and I got a recommendation that my ECM of $2,500 needed to be replaced.
Wow.
And this was because it threw a code. That was it.
Not good.
No other deep diving. No. Of course, I happen to know a little thing about cars, so this maybe slightly worked into it. So I asked them, some questions that were obvious, like, hey, did you check the battery? Is the alternator pumping out the right voltage? Like, just a couple of things, right? Come to find out they did nothing but just report on the fact that there was a code, and they wanted to charge me $2,500 without any additional more diving into this. So you can see how I'm never going back to this particular dealership again. And it was because it was a real half-assed recommendation. All right. That, if they came out with a quality recommendation of saying, hey, look, we found this, we dove a little deeper into this, we saw this, and this, I even took a little extra time and actually popped the panel off and saw there were a couple burnt spots on the ECU. Like just anything, right? But it was such a half-ass recommendation. They completely lost my business forever. And here you are, you go and say, no, that is the fundamental, let's call it, one of the points of a customer's experience, so much so that you're going to say, look, I'm going to force. So can you walk me through this? Because I think everybody out there watching, listening really needs to. So what is your expectation for that inspection? What are you expecting to come back? What you used a word. What was the word you used for your inspection? It had to be a high quality recommendation. There we go. High quality recommendation.
We would tell our family members. Every recommendation needs to be what we'd tell our family. So here we go. I look at mileage bands because it's hard to know. Because it's all opinions. But what we do is that I look at all my technicians and we look at their recommendations, the number of ones they did. And then we look at the number of recommendations per inspection. And I look at the average mileage band. Because here's the deal, over and under recommending is a bad thing. So our goal is that if we see a technician, an example, that's one recommendation on an average car of 70,000 miles, we're going to have a talk with that person. We're going to say, I think we have an issue here. Let's get your foreman over there, work with you, and we'll do an inspection together to teach you. Or we get a guy that thinks that everything is bad, and next thing you know, we have 14 recommendations for a car that has 20,000 miles on it. That doesn't fly as either. Because here's the deal. Our service writers are our fail-safe. They're the ones that see every inspection. They're the ones that see every video to make sure that we're telling the truth to the customer. Because if we're in the repeat referral business, we need to sell recommendations. We'd sell our family members, right? So I believe the quality of our inspections are one of the highest qualities. It starts with one, we pay the inspection fee and the video fee. Two, I demand, if all possible, that we have red pictures of all of our red and yellow events. So if I have something that's bad, videos are very hard to look at. The picture of the video the technician takes is, my name is Tully Williams. Thank you for bringing your car in today. I'll be doing your inspection. Here's the underneath of your car. Your brakes are at, your tires are at. We noticed we found some things that were yellow and some things that are red that need immediate attention. I have included some pictures in that video. Thank you again very much for coming into the Nilo company today. That is how we want that video to go. And then we tag a picture of all of our red events or yellow events to the quote. So the customer then can do what? Verify what I'm telling you is the truth. And guess what? Trust is a big deal. So now if I take the trust out, it comes to money and it comes to time. I am blessed that we work with a luxury group, so money is usually not the problem. So now it's all about the time, and
Yep.
that's something that we can manage the best.
Yes, right. And again, that just goes down to kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's the people, the process, and the technology. And it's like, as long as you got a clean process for that, that makes sense. Now, I think this is a perfect segue, because you already kind of mentioned it, of going into that we're in a repeat and referral business. And by the way, I love the fact that you picked those two words, the repeat and referral business, because those are not typically the two words that most of fixed ops businesses out there choose. The two words they typically will choose is retention and conquest. All right. So you've chosen repeat and referral. And I'm actually, look, I get into language sometimes, Tully, you're going to learn about that with me. I kind of get stuck on certain words and why people choose certain words. Yeah. So I am fundamentally fascinated why majority of the industry chooses to use the words retention and conquest, but totally decides to use the words repeat and referral. Walk me kind of through your thinking on this.
Well, I feel that if you make it complicated, like people make pay plans, guess what happens? They're not effective. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what repeat business is. Everybody knows what referral business is. So when you make it simple so everybody understands, from a porter to a detailer to an office person to a service writer to a tech to a manager, everybody knows what repeat referral is. Nobody knows what the word retention means unless you're a manager, for the most part. And then conquest. What do you mean conquest? What the hell is that? Is that a game, right? The goal is keep it simple so people understand. When we talk about CSI stands for what? Customer supplies income, because that is the true repeat referral business right there. So our goal is that CSI to us is mandatory. We know that there's issues here and there. We have customers that are weird. I get it. But overall, we monitor everybody every month. We love to do performance reviews every month. I look at the last 4 months. I fill them out. I send them out to my managers. And here's the why. Those should be the best conversations you should always have with your employees, telling them how great and thank you for doing a great job. And every once in a while, we have an issue where someone dropped off and we can talk about it. And usually it's a personal problem, for the most part. But the whole goal is that if we do that every month with all of our technicians and service writers, we do that with our F&Is, sales managers, and salespeople as well. But our goal is to talk to them every month to tell them thank you and show them the success, right? If you coach and mentor your employees constantly, they're not constantly thinking they're going to get a pay raise or a pay cut. Our goal is to show them how great they are. That's the reason the screen's in the back. Love to rank people, show off, like it's right there above us now. And we're talking about our superstar club, millionaire writer, 3,000-hour technicians. Those are huge deals. Those are, to me, the most successful things ever, and that's what we want to do.
Well, and you absolutely, I love hearing those stories, and I love talking to those individuals as well. One of the things I wanted to kind of go down kind of this repeat and referral side of it is that it really does, for you to consistently execute repeat business and to actually bring, and I love referral business because we don't talk a whole lot about referral business on the fixed op side. It's more of it's usually a variable conversation when I hear the word referral, right? But it actually makes more sense. All right. I mean, look, I want to, bringing my vehicle in for service is not necessarily the most funnest thing I can ever do. I know it's going to cost me money. It's the same thing like going to the doctor. When I find a great relationship, I do want to refer someone. So here's where I want to go, because repeat and referral, I believe, to consistently execute requires a clean process. So I would like to just, take the last few minutes kind of our podcast here, and let's talk a little bit about some of the processes you've put in place to support both repeat and referral business.
Great question. So I believe that, when you look at a great successful dealership, is employees being happy is key number one.
Yes.
Two is that employees need to know the direction you want to go, and you want to show the measurement of them so they can see their successes every day. Every day, our technicians and our service advisors and also on the variable side, because I do both, can see what happened yesterday. Now, what does that mean about repeat referral business? The process happens is this. The customer comes in at any of our dealerships, they're greeted, and we walk around the car and take pictures. Next is they all know we are going to get a quality inspection on every car, no matter if the car has 1 or 1 million miles on it. Customers remember this every time. If we do an inspection every time, Oopsies and surprises do not exist because yellows show up unless something breaks. The next thing is we have quality tech videos. We got a video contest.
Yes.
The technician got to make $1,000 for the best video. We did it over a period of a month, and we had a guy win $1,000 because he had the best quality video, and that video was about 55 seconds long. Now, we must ensure Parts does a great job getting our quotes done, which is a huge deal. We get those done in less than 10 minutes on every quote sent to the parts department. Now the quote can be sent out 100% of the time with what? A quality inspection, a quality video, and a quote that they can use their thumb to say yes to. Okay, that is the key issue. So now when a customer comes in, they know, one,
resistance.
I'm going to come out. Two, I'm going to come over and say hello, and I'm going to show a great inspection, show the technician's video. The technician talks about what's wrong. And three, we'll be transparent and send a quote with pricing in it. To me, those are the key issues. You don't need to worry about anything else.
Now, how do I get that quote? Do I get it on my cell phone, email, text message? How do I get it?
All three.
Beautiful.
So yeah, we use Cox Product X Time that sends it out. So we have a text and or email, whatever the customer wants, or both, right? And that's part of the setup process when you come in. And most people are, if they repeat, they already know what's going to happen. But everything happens the same time every time. If a customer wants to talk to us, of course they can. All you have to do is hit the call button, calls right in, talk to the service advisor. But here's what we make it better than that. We've got to make sure our service advisors are not overworked. I don't want our service writers writing more than 12 ROs a day. 8 to 12 ROs is the number one target there. If your CSI is dropping or we're getting complaints that people are not calling back, what do? We limit the amount of appointments because we've got to give you the time to be successful. And guess what? We close at 5 o'clock. Yes, we close at 5 o'clock. And guess what happens? At 5:01, it's a ghost town. Quality of work is a big deal. Don't need stress. Don't need people working to 7, 8 o'clock at night trying to get it happen. That is not going to work out.
You know what? I love that you actually brought that up because I do believe, for people that are in positions like you are, Tully, and a position that I was in similar to what you're in right now, it is our responsibility to try to craft out a balance between work life. I did something a little funky. Everyone told me it was never going to work. I made it work. We went to a 4-day on, 3-day off schedule. So I love your 9 to 5, and that commitment to it. We went to, it was very amazing. 4 days, you bust your ass up. 3 days was enough time to truly reset. And because of that, we were able to really bring in some high quality talent, both on the technician side, because we did this for techs, and also the advisor side as well. But it's that type of thinking, all right, that gives you the focus on the people. All right, documenting out those processes to consistently execute that quality recommendation and those videos, but then of course utilizing a technology so that it's efficient in this way. Like you get this beautiful kind of marriage of these three things happening, and it's just no surprise to me that you guys are as successful as you are. Tully, I know we're getting towards the end of our conversation today, and I am so happy we got a chance to connect and have this, because I think anybody that's watching and listening right now, I think you guys have been probably maybe challenged and hopefully pushed a little bit, all right, to maybe think a little differently. All right. And I know Tully was going to bring that today, so I'm so excited. But hey, before I let you go, Tully, for everybody out there watching and listening who would love to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Great. So I'm on LinkedIn. Of course, you can always message me through there, or my email, Williams at Niello, NIELLO.com. If you're interested about an hour's forecast, I have a worksheet for you that you can fill out. You put the W's of all the technicians. You can figure out your hours capacity within about 5 minutes.
I love it. And I love the fact that you're willing to support the rest of our industry in that way. That really totally makes you an automotive rock star, in my opinion. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. Hey, everyone out there watching and listening, you all have yourselves an amazing day. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.